morning.
Good morning to you.
So we have our full team ready with us here to hear from you, and we also have our senior vice president for Asia Pacific, Sophie Britton, with us, and along with her we also have our head of HR for Asia Pacific, Jenny Gu, with us, joining through the same Microsoft Teams.
Okay.
So before we begin, I'll take a few seconds to introduce Mr. Ramani, although I think a few seconds are not enough to introduce a great personality like Mr. Ramani, but I'll try to do my best. So as we all know, panel building has been going through a sea change over the last couple of years with new technologies like Wi-Fi and cloud and every possible combination coming into the industry. And to take us to these new trends, we have with us Mr. Ramani, who is the Director South for COSMA, which is basically the Control Panel and Switchgear Manufacturers Association of India. And Mr. Ramani actually commenced his business in 1983 with Money Sales in Bangalore as an electrical trading company. And in 1990, he decided to move up the value chain and set up Load Controls India Private Limited, which is a control panel and switchgear manufacturing company. And in his quest to add latest technologies, he actually started module ready panels in 2007, a type-tested flat pack enclosure systems manufacturing company. Apart from being an entrepreneur for the last 37 years, if I'm right, he employs 200 people, has a passion for simplifying panel building. And I'm very proud to introduce, first of all, a great human being and the founder of Mani Group of Companies, Mr. Ramani Mani. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Tulyaji. It's always a pleasure to hear you talk and to be in the midst of your aura. And today it's even more pleasure because we are having the All India sales team of Hager present in this meeting. And for me, when I meet salespeople, it's always an energy booster because they are the front end people of any organization. And for when we meet them, we are completely talking a different language altogether, and that's something really exciting for me today. Bear with me while I share my screen. So I'm going to be talking to you all about the key trends in panel building, and I do hope I would be able to do justice to this topic. It's a vast ocean, and let's deliberate on what my perspective is in terms of the current trends, as well as how the future is going to be looking for each and every one of us. You are also in the switchgear line, and definitely this is a topic which should be close to your heart because it's not about selling just products, it's also about selling solutions. Just to reinforce a little bit about how I get a little qualified to talk about a subject like this, as Atulyaji mentioned, in 1983, I started off with electrical trading business. Today, we are stockists for ABB, Legrand, Socomec, and a number of other brands, as you can see. 1990 was load controls, where we went on to solutions from just products and the whole plethora of motor control centers, power control centers, power factor correction relay panels, and so on and so forth, which goes into projects. That's what we manufacture. And then, as I was in load controls in the year 96, I said I had an opportunity to go to Singapore, and that's where I visited about 18 panel building units over a period of a week. And I really wanted to understand as to how panel is manufactured in the world markets. And that's where I got to know that there was the conventional panel building methodology. There was also the semi-modular, and then the absolute world-class completely modular solutions. I got very excited about it. I got very inspired by what I saw. And so I came back and got onto the drawing board, and which in the year 2000 helped me to release to the market a modular enclosure system in which we manufactured our switchboards. What this made, what difference this made to load controls was that, it really got us a lot of recognition. It got us, a kind of a positioning in the market where we got to be known as pioneering manufacturers of modular systems. And then there was a lot of other very exciting things that happened. So which, I made me feel that I must get into this enclosure business. So 2007, I registered Modutec Ready Panels Private Limited. But as it, quite often happens in business, I guess, I was distracted. I was sort of thinking 2 times, 3 times whether I really should be getting into this. And then that's where we landed ourselves up with the Kia Motors order. Now, Kia Motors is a huge project which is in the outskirts of Bangalore. And that was a order which came with a volume of 35 crores. The previous year, we had done a turnover of 48 crores. And I had this, exciting challenge to ensure that we double our turnover, because this 35 crores had to be executed in just a period of 5 months. Believe me, my friends, it would never have been possible for me to have executed this order but for my modular technology. And that is the day, that is the time I decided that I should ensure that this idea of the modular enclosures, this experience of the modular enclosures, this technology of the modular enclosures actually reaches the world. And so in 2018, we started billing in Modutech, and I'm very happy to say that in spite of the COVID times, we have actually seen a kind of a growth in Modutech this year. Going forward, to give you a perspective of the Indian panel building industry, in India, it is estimated that we have 18,000 crores, which is the size of the switchboard industry. And this can be categorized into 3 divisions, which means process automation, factory automation, and electrical distribution. Hager would come in all these areas, and these are, of course, pre-pandemic figures, but then you get an idea in terms of the size of the industry, and therefore, what is the opportunity which is there for a switchgear manufacturing company like Hager. Now, in India, what the panel industry is going through is absolute transformation. I think it's a kind of a time when, there's a lot of maturity which is coming into the industry. Traditionally, if you see that, anybody with a welding transformer and a shearing machine could have, he becomes a control panel manufacturer. Now, what happens when such a thing takes place is that quality takes a beating, and you find that in several installations, fire happens as a result of poor electrical wiring. There's a lot of failure, and therefore a lot of frustration builds in, when it comes to the end users thinking. So what India started seeing over the last almost 2 decades and more is that a number of multinational companies started coming into India. And when multinational companies came into India, they brought along with them a certain culture which Indian companies were not very accustomed to. And then there was the critical power requirements which came up. There was multiple sources of power generation which happened, and therefore the need to be safer, it climbed up to a different level altogether. Electrical consultants who were employed by end users for taking care of a particular project, they were automatically given a brief that they have to raise the bar on reliability, because that became even more and more important as the trends started changing. And today, third-party certification has become the norm to differentiate the men from the boys. So electrical consultants needed something to differentiate, to ensure how do they bring about the tender to be participating by, just the good quality panel builders. And that is where certification started playing a very major role. And that is something which is very important for switchgear people, to really understand, because that is going to be part and parcel of your sales strategy. So what is this IEC 61439 and internal arc and seismic test? So what is all this all about? So if we see, hardly a decade ago, what was prevalent was the IEC 60439 standard. And it is also the IS 8623, if you look at the equivalent in the Indian standards. Now, whether it was IS 8623 or 60439, all it focused on was about the enclosure and the bus bar system. That's it. So we could actually take an enclosure with the bus bar system to CPRI or ERDA, get it tested, and then we get the IEC 60439 certification. Now, as things evolved and as this need for reliability and safety increased, the IEC Council sat together and they evolved the IEC 61439 standard. And now the significant difference between 60439 and 61439 is that we could no longer take an enclosure and busbar system alone for type testing. We had to take the switchgear mounted inside the enclosure, and the switchgear was also tested. 13 tests were defined as what is important for the reliability and trust to be built into the whole system. And that is what brought about the 61439 standards. Now, what happens is that by virtue of the certification, the end user, the consultant, and the panel builder, they all come on the same page. And when that happens, there is each one supports the other, and the end user gets the benefit of all this. Now, if you look at the scenario in India as far as medium voltage is concerned, the switchgear manufacturer and the panel builder are 100% aligned in most of the cases. Now, what this means is that there is a partnership in medium voltage. However, when it comes to low voltage, the trend in India is that a panel builder is okay to use any make of switchgear. Now, this trend is being rethought over thanks to the fact of IEC 61439. If you look at countries abroad, you'll find that there is partnership even in low voltage, where there are control panel manufacturers in Dubai, in Bahrain, in England, in all parts of the world, including Australia, where even in low voltage, a panel builder sticks to the principal company most of the time. Whereas in India, it's not like that. And this 61439 is going to change this trend. So a block set manufacturer for Schneider, for instance, is unlikely to be using any other product in his portfolio. So these are trends which are catching up. We need to be aware of it. And Hager would also have to probably think about how they can also bring in a certain degree of loyalty between the panel builder and the Hager switchgear. Differentiating the men from the boys during the various tenders, and also a factor that companies like Schneider and ABB go and educate the consultants. The consultants have now started specifying IEC 61641 as well, which is the internal arc requirement. So here it's like, what happens when there's a lot of pressure built inside a pressure cooker. The valve goes up and the steam is released. A similar kind of a situation has to happen in a switchboard when there is an arc inside. The door should not blow out, but the internal arc, the flap on top of the panel will have to be opened up, and the hot gases will need to be released. So is the switchboard capable of doing that? Is the test which IEC 61641 is all about. And then depending on the geography where the panel is going to be installed, we also have the seismic withstand facility, which is also being specified of late in various tenders. Now, if we look at the entire market for panel builders, and if we want to discern, each panel builder has to be discerning his own strengths to understand which segment he has to be working on. And if we put all the panel builders into this triangle, you'll find that right on top of the triangle, we have these specialists. And specialists are people who generally go global. They are people who are specialists, say, in power segment. Wherever there is a hydroelectric power requirement or a solar power requirement, they will be there. And whatever is the value they need to be adding to these kind of segments, they will be absolutely specialists in that, and therefore they'll be sought after. And you'll generally find that these specialists are not there in the other segments like building segment or industry segment. They specialize, and therefore they even go global. Now, when you look at the local, panel builders who basically are generalists, they cater to the requirements of building industry, as well as building and industries and infrastructure and various kind of original equipment manufacturers requirements, so on and so forth. So for them, what is important is the P2P relationship, which means the person-to-person relationship. They're very, very person dependent, and therefore they are content with that kind of a business model. Load controls, for instance, works out somewhere in the mid segment. And we are both into the buildings as well as into the industry. We're kind of specialists in the DG segment of synchronizing panels. We also have a role to play as far as power factor correction relay, getting the power factor to as much close to unity as possible. And so we are somewhere here, somewhere there. And so this is how all the panel builders are, they position themselves. And depending upon where they would like to position themselves, they will have to evolve their marketing strategy accordingly. So there's nothing right or wrong about this. It's only about understanding where you are and then playing your cards in the market accordingly. What is very important, of course, is to be as close to the customer as possible. And now, if we have to do that, then we must recognize one thing, that as competition builds and grows more strong and stiff, we need to be able to offer differentiated value to our customers. So how does this happen? The customer needs solutions that makes his life easy, and the panel builder has to be very clear in terms of taking his decision on where he's going to be focusing on. Now, panel building industry is basically electromechanical when it comes to India. And as against this, the trend abroad is that the control panel industry is essentially electrical, and they outsource the mechanicals, because they recognize that mechanicals also is a huge ocean of learning by itself. And it's not possible for one to be a specialist in the mechanical as well as in the electrical. And if we try to be a jack of all trades, then the value what we're going to be adding to the customer is going to be compromised to that extent. And therefore, I see a trend in India that people will generally take this decision of being a super specialist, and that is very, very important. I would imagine that, as we companies like mine, in terms of Modutech, gets more and more popular, and panel builders get more and more comfortable in stocking and using these enclosure systems, then it would give them a lot more time, lot more focus on the electricals, and therefore they'll be able to add that much more value to their customers. So let's see how this is going to go on. But one thing is very clear, that the the panel builders who focus on electricals, they will also need third-party certifications. And this is where, if this third-party certification is also available from the enclosure manufacturer, it makes the life of the electrical control panel manufacturer that much more easier. So we'll come to that as we go forward. So thus, what I see is that, the entire control panel industry, which is an example of how collaboration is being looked at, and I'm sure for sheer survival, many industries in India are now going to be looking at more collaboration than competition. And in India, we have COSMA, which is the Control Panel and Switchgear Manufacturers Association. And then, we find that there is a lot of activity which has come up, maybe thanks to COVID, but I also feel it is thanks to the need for unity. We are talking in terms of, bringing out a shared quality manual from COSMA today. We are understanding that IMCC relay manufacturers are really taking the industry to a pricing level which doesn't look to being very fair. So we are looking at seeing whether we can ourselves bring out an IMCC relay from COSMA. We have some members who are really good at R&D and they're working on it. And even yesterday, I had the managing director of L-Measure over in my factory, and I was inquiring with him, and he says that this is really taking a good shape, and he's quite excited to seeing what's going to be developing. And there's also other associations like EMA is the Indian Electrical and Electronics Manufacturers Association. So that is more broad-based in the electrical industry. So COSMA is really seriously looking at seeing how we can collaborate with EMA and look at becoming more and more national as we go forward. Other associations as well, both in India as well as abroad, we are looking at collaborating with. A lot of thoughts are coming in which have never really come to light the way it is coming to light at this point of time. There's another point I'd like to mention about the entire situation in the electrical industry today is in a flux of phenomenal changes which are happening. Like Schneider has acquired L&T, Siemens have acquired C&S, ABB has acquired GE, and all this comes up with the question in one's mind, okay, now what's going to happen next? And one is wondering whether there's going to be a significant increase in the price which is going to happen. And also you'll find that the NTPC EIL segment, which was predominantly dominated by the companies which have been acquired, like L&T, C&S and GE, how much the multinationals are now going to be dictating terms to NTPC EIL is another trend which we'll have to watch and wait and watch. Exports is also suddenly becoming doable by the panel builder. The kind of price advantage one gets when you go to exports is quite significant. And because there is a situation abroad as well, where they want to bring down costs, people have suddenly started recognizing that Indian quality is also good. And there is a lot of inquiries which are coming our way, and the volumes are phenomenal. So therefore, in COSMA, we have been discussing whether 3, 4, 5 panel builders together can come together to handle these kind of export inquiries. So let's see how it goes. I've also been asked to talk about the needs, desires, and aspirations of end users in India. So end users can generally be categorized under A, B, and C category. A is the top end, where you have the data centers, the power segment, the oil and gas, defense, steel, cement, so on and so forth. B category is your industry, your infrastructure, institutions, and significant commercial buildings, IT parks, malls, hospitals, and hotels, where again, safety is important, but then it's in the A category, it is super important. And C category is the building segments, which covers the rest of the commercial and residential segments, the apartments, the layouts, and so on, where generally by virtue of the fact that a builder builds and gives it away for rent or sale, his focus on quality is not as high as that of a person who's going to own that building for the long term. So this is the general 3 categories we see. And this is differentiated by the willingness to pay for enhanced technologies, heightened safety, and third-party certifications. So this is in the order of preference. Some of these trends cover digitalization of switchboards, which is a new trend. It's emerging. People want to access the cloud, have more and more convenience built into the way of their functioning. There's a lot of energy efficiency talk which is going on, and a lot of measurements are being put in place so that it can be monitored and managed. And all this across the globe. People say that even when I go on a holiday, I should be knowing exactly what is happening in my factory or my IT park or whatever it is. So all these technologies are coming to play, and it's a trend which we are seeing, and we need to recognize that. Similarly, when you look at the needs, desires, and aspirations of specifiers in India, now specifiers are generally given a brief from the end user in terms of based on whether he's A, B, or C category on the budget, and this brief varies. So specifiers are also influenced by the way their fees are structured. I mean, this is with all respects to the specifiers. It's from my experience that I have recognized that when the fees becomes a percentage of the project cost, the tendency could be to overspecify. And this is something which, as people in sales, we'll need to be able to relate to and then draw insights from. Filtering the panel builders' participation in line with the client requirement becomes a very important task for the specifier to do. And for this, he leverages the third-party certification. He also puts a clause that he should have minimum so many years of experience in the field, and he must have minimum this infrastructure. So all these are aspects which one sees in various tenders, which as and when they get released. And for A category projects, generally the trend is to specify IEC 61439. And then at times you see the internal arc also, and at times you see the seismic also. And this trend is only on the upward curve. So every panel builder will have to see how he can qualify himself to this third party certification requirements. A trend to ask for OEM panels is also, it surfaces where EIL and NTPC, they have been very particular earlier that they want only OEM panels. But in the last quarter, we have seen that, major orders have gone to non-OEMs, like one is Nitya Electricals in Delhi, and the other is Pyrotech in Udaipur. They've been able to take orders worth 40 crores to 100 crores from these kind of segments, which predominantly earlier were focused on OEM segments. Now they're saying it's okay. We don't have the OEM people coming in at the price levels what we expect, or I do not know what exactly is the situation, but they're opening their doors for non-OEM switchboard manufacturers as well. And then when you look at the needs, desires, and aspirations of panel builders in India, competitiveness, is something which is a reality and that needs to be dealt with. So how does a panel builder deal with competition? He has to check his overheads first and foremost. What he was able to do pre-COVID, he is not able to do post-COVID. So overheads has to come down. We need to increase our closeness to the customer and explore technologies for being faster, smarter, safer. This is what the customer wants. So how do you learn to chant the mantra of the customer? How do you learn to identify with his needs? How do you learn to serve those needs to the best of your abilities? This is something which is topmost in the minds of all panel builders, I would imagine. They are being pushed to getting certified on the one hand and mandatorily getting aligned with specific switchgear brands on the other. Please note that this is an important trend, and we need to see from Hager how one could sort of leverage this to your advantage. Most panel builders focus on 20% of their customers who give them 80% of their business. So this is the Pareto principle, and this is something which I've seen particularly in these successful panel builders. This is how they operate, and they hold on to them, and they give them all kinds of value-added services so that they are the first name of recall when the end user requires switchboards. Now, the need for branding and marketing is also felt and forayed into more than it's a need which is felt like it's never been felt before. Suddenly, you feel that unless you're going to be focusing on branding and marketing, you're going to be a nobody. Particularly in the digital era, where communication moves so fast and people are able to relate to each other that much quicker, it's very, very important for panel builders to leverage these technologies, whether it's LinkedIn or whether it's your website or YouTube channel, you've got to be there. The recent metal price increases have hit the panel builders badly, and they're getting sandwiched between the client and the vendor. So this is just a trend for you to be aware of, that now onwards, I would imagine that a lot of emphasis will be laid on validity of pricing. I've received so many purchase orders in the past, and the validity is there in some, but most of them don't bother about it. Today, we ourselves are going back to customers and saying, thank you very much for your order, but the price is what we had quoted to you at that time. I could have managed if it was just to be a 5 or even a 10% increase in price, but you're aware that the prices have gone up 40%, I'm sure you'll be able to understand how this would be hurting us. And unless we stand on our own legs, it's going to be difficult for us to serve you. So please look at seeing how you can increase our prices. So this is a slogan which we go to our customers with presently. And so price increase is something which all of us have to be aware that this is very critical for profitability, being watchful of that, factoring against it. All these are, aspects which panel builders will need to be getting more aware of and more aligned with. Coming to Modutech and, why Modutech? So Modutech is on a mission to simplify panel building for the panel builder. So, with all my 20 years of 30 years of experience, 20 years in modular technology and 30 years in all of switchboard manufacturing, and that experience of Kia Motors, which I spoke to you about, I felt that this is something which, in my lifetime, I need to be doing. And if I can add a little value to the panel builder so that his life becomes that much more easier, that much more faster in terms of the way he is able to serve his customer and bring in a lot of flexibility in the way he can do it, then why not? So, this is what, if you go, if in the GCC countries, if you take, for example, the panel builder who is number one in terms of top line in the GCC countries, which is in Dubai, is one Bengalip. And Bengalip, if you know him, he has aligned himself with Lockstrop, which is a modular technology. It's a modular enclosure system manufacturer. Perhaps some of you would also be aware of L Steel. L Steel is a Sri Lankan based Danish company, and now they've opened shop about 8 years ago in Goa as well. And all these technologies are phenomenal in terms of the way they simplify panel building for the panel builder. And when we really appreciate this technology, you'll find that it leads to steady growth, both in terms of top line as well as bottom line. And so therefore, what Modutech is doing is we supply these enclosures with the busbar systems. Now, busbar systems are the heart of the electrical distribution inside a switchboard. So how it is engineered is very, very important for the safety, the short circuit capability, as well as the temperature rise capability inside a switchboard. So it's a lot of R&D is involved in the way we are going about. Yes, in India, one thing is there that these technologies get copied very fast. So we have patented our technology, but then we are not relying as much on our patents as much as we are relying on our research and development. We have a dedicated R&D team which tries to keep getting ahead of ourselves in terms of how we manufacture panels. By the next couple of months, our draw-out motor control center design would also be ready. We are coming out with a lot of aspects of improvement, which is on the agenda. Now, Modutech enclosures are basically, they just have two profiles. You can see here is the 3-bend profile, and then here what you see is the 4-bend profile. So we use only these two profiles and no other profile as against, if you look at a block set panel or a CPAN panel, you'll find that they use a number of profiles, and it makes it that much more complicated for the panel builder to understand how he is going to put these things together, my opinion. So if you are able to understand our technology, it's a very simple technology, and here you see that the holes are at every 15 you have holes punched. The beauty is that every alternate holes, which is at 30 apart, they are not only punched but also pierced, which means you can actually put a self-thread screw through it. And the piercing also works like a corrugation. It strengthens the mechanical strength of the profile and therefore of the switchboard tremendously. Then we use these tripods, which goes into the 8 corners of the panel, and then the partitions come in and the doors, and within a very short period of time, the entire panel is ready. So each and every part inside the which goes to make the switchboard, they carry a catalog number, and they're all part of a price list. So we keep the pricing also very, very transparent in the way we do our business. We also have a software, and this software, it asks you a number of questions. As you answer these questions, then you can see that the GA drawing is automatically formed on the computer screen. And then you can make your adjustments on the GA drawing to suit your requirements in case of any adjustments which is required. And then you press the button on the Excel, and you get the entire Excel sheet with each and every mechanical part listed out there, along with its weight. In case you're transporting it across the geography, you need to know how much is the weight of transportation. And then it also has the catalog number and the pricing. Now, for advanced users of these Modutech enclosures, we also give them access to the development drawing, which means we supply the noble components or the signature components, and the rest of the doors and partitions and the plinth, etc., can be manufactured by the system integrator, who is an advanced partner for Modutech. And all this comes in flat pack. Now, if you take, for example, a Rittel panel or an Eldon panel, and if you're going to be transporting it from one end of the country to the other, you'll be transporting a lot of air along with it because it's all welded structures. Whereas in India, in Modutech, it's flat pack. So where in one 20 feet container, you can have probably 30, 40 enclosures of my competitor. With Modutech, you can have 200, 300 panels stacked inside. So that is the beauty of the flat pack design. And it's a lot of ease in assembly. It's very adaptable. And as you appreciate the modular design more and more, I'm sure the kind of value you'll see in it will become that much more closer to the way you'd like to do switchboard manufacturing. So what does Modutech provide? We have these 3 brand promises. The first brand promise is that we tell our customers that we are faster. In fact, there is a panel builder called Acusonic in Pune. And for those of you who know him, he has been quite a loyal customer for me for quite some years now, 1.5, 2 years now. And one thing, when I asked him, why are you buying Modutech? Is it because it helps you to differentiate yourself from the other panel builders in Pune? What exactly is the real reason for you to come to me? He says, no, Ramani, I don't come to you for any kind of a differentiation. Whether I use welded panels or modular panels, it's not that my customer really appreciates it. I was shocked. I said, then what are you coming to me for? So he says that when I give you an order, the second day you're able to send me all your signature components, which means the profiles and all the joiner pieces. So within the matter of 4 to 5 days, his entire structure is ready in his factory, which he says no other local manufacturer will be able to support me with this kind of a speed. Now, Acusonic is one panel builder who decides and goes about manufacturing his own partitions. So when he designs his own partitions, then that is also under his control. He mounts the switchgear, puts our busbar supports, and by the time he finishes the entire busbar work and the wiring, the doors arrives from my side, which follows in about 7 to 10 days, depending upon the size of the panel. So then he says that within a matter of 3 to 4 weeks, I am able to service my customer, which otherwise I was never able to do that. So that was something which really gave me, a feeling that, hey, this is to become one of my, selling slogans. And that's why I said that my first brand promise is being faster. And the second thing, Mr. Prashant Deshpande, if you know him, he told me was that as he starts building the panel, it's not uncommon that customers come and ask for certain changes. And he says in a welded panel, it becomes very difficult for me to change. Whereas in your modular system, I'm able to change the way I'm putting the crossbars and build the partitions accordingly, and therefore I'm able to satisfy the customer that much better, that much without much of a price implication to the customer. And the third brand promise is that we are committed to being fair in pricing. Now, what do I mean by that? When you take a good quality panel manufacturer in your city, and if you look at what his price is, we assure you that our price will not be more than 15 to 20% more expensive. Now, controlling it at 15 to 20% also means that we are more economical than any other OEM panel or OEM supported panel like Blockset or Prisma or CPAN or TI or NSS or what have you. We assure you that we will be more economical. So this is where we are approaching the market, and we are also repeatedly type tested in Asta for IEC 61439. Our switchboards are also available for you in IEC 62271-200 for medium voltage. So if and when Hager comes into medium voltage, then you will be in a position to avail of our modular technology for this as well, and all these are type tested. Of course, we focus a lot on service. We handhold the panel builder. We train him how to assemble the panels. Just once, our team had to go to Pune Akasonic, and after that, he's on his own. Same thing when we supplied to Dubai. One time on a video call, we explained to the panel builder how he should assemble the panel. After that, even our physical presence there was not required. So this is the ease with which the panel can be put together, and this is the advantage of the modular technology. Another beauty of our system, which is not available in any other modular design, like for example, L steel or lockstop, which is not available, is that when you buy a Modutec frame bar and crossbar and keep it in your stock, say 1200 mm length you have. Now, for some reason, for a particular switchboard, you don't need 1200 mm, but you need a 900 mm length frame bar. Now, what happens is that in the case of lockstop or L steel, you have to wait till that 900 mm length piece comes to you, because theirs is more like a closed profile, and you have a kind of a notch at the side through which the screw goes in. Whereas ours, being 30 mm by 30 mm, the screwdriver can go right into this gap here itself. And therefore, it enables you to cut the 1200 mm into 900 and 300. Similarly, crossbar of 1200 into whatever other sizes and multiples of 30 mm which you would want to cut it. This is a big boon for a panel builder, particularly if he's in a remote corner of India or anywhere in the world for that matter. It is very important for him to satisfy his customer, and for that, these small variations he'll be able to manage in our modular design. So that's why we say, take a piece, cut it into pieces, and it gives you peace of mind. So that's simplifying your inventory and gives a lot of smiles in the customer's face. Now, the route to IEC 61439 is also your passport to premium projects. And this is what every panel builder has started realizing, that if he needs to participate in these premium projects, he has to have the certification. And therefore, when he buys a Modutech enclosure, these certifications are automatically guaranteed for him. We have been type tested for about 5 switchgear makes. We're getting it. We are getting 6th, 7th, 8th also in the pipeline. And therefore, we want to be that one-stop shop solution for panel builders when it comes to enclosures. So this is something which we do mainly through ASTA, and ASTA in turn are tied up with both ERDA laboratories as well as CPRI, and this gives a lot of comfort to us also in the way we are able to get the type testing done. And ASTA, being an international organization, it has a differentiated value from what you would otherwise have if you have just a CPRI or an ERDA certificate. Now, Modutech, if you look at it in terms of comparison with the existing range like Blockset and Prisma from Schneider, R2K, of ABB, L&T has got TI, and then they've introduced Enersys now for making it more and more economical. Siemens similarly have Shivacon, and then CPAN, which is the more economical model. Excel Cube by Legrand, which they are going to now launch into the industry, is what I'm given to understand in terms of building partnerships. You might be pleasantly surprised to note, I recently heard the Blockset, the system integrator, global head of Schneider, a lady, she spoke about Schneider having 40,000 panel partners worldwide. And that was something which I found quite mind-boggling, which means a major sales of Schneider switchgear comes from their partnerships with switchboard manufacturers. And that's something which is to be taken note of as we go forward. Now, as I said, Modutech is, compared to any of these brands, we would be easily around 10 to 20% more economical. And when you look at the versatility quotient, I can assure you, and once a panel builder starts using it, he will realize the kind of flexibility which is there in our systems in comparison with other existing systems. Now, Modutech is into modular enclosures of Form 3 and Form 4 construction, which is the prime product. And here we can give it to you from Form 1, which is the Mod Bay system, to Form 4, which we call Mod Dis. And this we can go all the way up to Type 7, which is a very stringent, partitioning of the entire switchboard, which we have been able to achieve repeatedly. We also have boxes which comes in different sizes, IP55 to 66. We can also give this in stainless steel. So these are, we always believe that we must have a prime product and we must have an easy to buy product. The easy to buy product basically opens doors for you, and then you take your prime product inside. Similarly, another niche product which we have is the pan assemblies, where you can have either 4-pole incoming, 4-pole outgoing with MCCB incoming and MCCB outgoing, which brings the entire footprint of the panel down tremendously. In Kia Motors, we have supplied more than 650 such pan assembly enclosures for this project. So this is something which I feel that this will soon become a trend. And Hager, of course, is very good in this. And this is something which we also have as a solution. This is an open type. We are also developing a closed molded type. And then, as I mentioned, the medium voltage solutions, we have at present type test solutions for both Schneider as well as Eaton. Very soon, we'll be coming out with other makes for medium voltage solutions as well. I spoke to you already about the software, which is the hard rock foundation of our entire business. And we also have the team which will service as well as train the panel builder in whatever ways he needs to understand more and more about our products. We also have videos. Please do get into YouTube, put Modutech and subscribe to our channel. There's a lot of videos we have already uploaded, and we will continue to upload as we go forward. I've also been asked to speak about the expectations of panel builders in India from Hager, right? So all I want to tell Hager in one sentence is that you're at the right time in the right place with the right people. I've interacted with few of your Hager team members, and I definitely feel that the quality of people in Hager is excellent. I've seen your videos also on YouTube, and the way people come across is really, really good. Now, what does Hager do in order to penetrate into India that much more, given the fact that you're in the right place at the right time with the right people, is that we need to desperately form a fourth, competitor in India, which means Schneider, ABB, and Siemens are the top three switchgear manufacturers in India. The fourth, there's a big gap at this point of time. So this is a big gap which Hager could definitely look at and seeing how it can scale itself up. Brand building and aggressive marketing, of course, is very, very important. And, I always admire Schneider as the way they go about this exercise. They're absolutely there everywhere. And specifier approvals, it's very, very important. They do a lot of specification engineering, as we call it. And that's something which is the name of the game, whether we like it or not. And probably Hager will have to be doing also quite a bit of this. E-commerce is picking up, and this is a trend which, given the fact that you have a lot of consumer-oriented products also, I do not know whether you're already there, but in case you're not there, then you need to be there. And if you're already there, you need to see how to scale it up. Getting close to the panel builder is, of course, very, very important. And this would, we have to continuously see what makes sense for the panel builder. Panel builder, invariably, he will want orders. So how does Hager work with the panel builder to get him orders, and in the bargain, get orders for Hager also? So this kind of a partnership approach is very, very important. And this is something which Schneider is excellent at. ABB is probably the next best at it. And this is something which is definitely, it has to be on your agenda. And I'm sure it is. You need to see how to scale it up. And then having an offer of IEC 61439 range of enclosure solutions is critical. I mean, if that fourth place in the Indian industry has to be captured, it can be captured only when you're not just into products, but also into solutions. And for you to be into solutions, you need to get that kind of enclosure partnership also through. I know you're working on it, and wish you good speed in that. And this third-party certification doesn't just stop with one certificate. There's a number of certificates which Hager would need to be looking at to when they get into IEC 61439 and then go on from there. So all that has to be budgeted and all that has to be strategized. What else? Well, you like any business who wants to grow, we'll need to be as close to the customer as possible. We need to discern opportunities where there is a strength in us and there is a need in the market, and how do we match this? And then how do we reduce friction in the way we deal? How does the ease of doing business, how does it get enhanced? So these are certain things which are very, very important. And when you look at switchgear companies entering into India, you have presently for the competitors for the fourth slot, if one may put it that way, is LS Electric, there is Mitsubishi, there is Chint and Havels. All of them are there and they are fighting for this fourth slot. We may also be very soon seeing competition from Himmel, Panasonic and Fuji as well. So there's a lot of Japanese projects which are coming up in India, and that is what has perhaps attracted Panasonic and Fuji also to get into this market. There's a big industrial project now coming up, a Japanese project where Panasonic is very clear that they want their switchgear to be used in this project. So that sort of indicates that they are also keen to get into this business. Hager is already having a dealer network, and reducing friction, as I said here, is a continual endeavor. How do we make it easy for people to buy Hager? How do we make it the first choice of when switchgear or switches or whatever is required by the dealer? How do we create a pull from the market for Hager products, which is very, very important for one to scale? technology or strategy or allied offerings, somewhere there has to be a signature approach by Hager. This is my opinion. As the market is very crowded. So when the market is crowded, how do you differentiate yourself? This has to be top of mind in terms of strategy. You all know it. I'm just sharing because I've been asked to share. The IEC 61439 route is very, very important. It's one, I'd like to emphasize this again. And the B category has to be entered immediately, and then the A category would automatically happen when there is sufficient number of installations in the market and sufficient number of trust gets built. Then A category will also open its doors for Hager, is what I would imagine. And then, of course, a continuous endeavor by any organization to build its team, to build its systems, to build its strategy. Execution has to be absolutely world class, and something which we have to remember even more after our COVID experiences. How do we preserve cash, and how do we always have cash in terms of important for the well-being of the boat? Now, I always envisage that business is like a boat on the ocean with all its employees on the boat. And for the employee who is in the boat to feel safe and to feel secure, he will have to see to it that the boat is first secure and safe. And that is what people at the top always keep thinking, that it's always the goal which has to be kept above the team, and it's always the team that has to be kept above each individual. And therefore, how do we bring this out, and how do we ensure that to be agile and alive and alert to opportunities which will help strengthen the safety and security of the boat, we need cash. Because only when cash is available, when the opportunity is available, we can strike. So how do we ensure that we are always cash positive and take the business forward? So these are some of the thoughts I thought I should put together. It's been a real pleasure addressing you all. It's been a big pleasure organizing my thoughts to be shared with you. And it's very nice of you to have given me this opportunity. I hope you all enjoyed this as much as I did. Thank you very much, Mr. Atulya and the team, for your patient listening.
Yep. So thank you, Mr. Ramani. It's been a great learning experience for me personally.
Thank you.
Because every time I hear you, every time I spend time with you, I always end up learning new about this industry. Thank you for your insights. I think I'm sure the team will also find it very useful. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you once again. Okay, for sparing your time because you have. I'm sure the plate is full and you are attending to so many things. As I said earlier, we also have our Senior Vice President for Asia Pacific, Ms. Sophie Britton, with us, and I think she wants to share a few things with you.
Sure, absolutely.
So, over to you, Sophie.
Yeah, in fact, the thing I want to share with you, Mani, is really to thank you. Because for me, being in charge of Asia Pacific and especially nowadays with the travel ban, it's quite interesting to have such experiences and such, let's say, a background that you have shared with us. Very instructive, very fruitful. And I would say which echo a lot with one of our development as Hager Group. So we do believe that in some cases you can have, let's say, some up and down in some major country nowadays, but on a long-term basis, India is really a country with a lot of future. And things are moving, and as you say, the level of expectations of customer are raising. So I think that's a clear opportunity for our brand. We know that we are not giant compared to some other players, but I think the quality approach and the qualitative approach, I would say even, either coming from our offer, but also coming from our people, as you say, because I think that's also a point of differentiation. I think it really gave us a lot of inspiration and hope also to develop in India. So thanks a lot for your very detailed pitch and message. I'm used to participate to kick off, and I see that you have prepared that in a very serious manner. So that's really that was an honor for us to receive you during this digital kickoff. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Breton, and it's been a pleasure for me also to, be given this kind of an exposure to share my points of view. I've been following Hager right from the time Hager was supplying to L&T in India, and now you've come out on your own to approach and serve the Indian market. So, very excited about the possibilities which await you as well as the Indian market to avail of the technologies which you are putting on the table. So thank you so much. It's been a great pleasure and honor for me to be amongst all of you.
Okay, thank you, Ramani ji. Look forward to meeting you, and thank you everybody for joining this session. We will take a break and be back at 12:30. Thank you.
Thank you, Atulya ji. Thank you.